Hey, Mike Burris here with Spirit Music Meetups, trying a little different camera angle for you. You know, this is about expanding one-stroke rudiments. And what we're going to do is expand these into 2 strokes, 3 strokes, however they expand, into simple strokes. A lot of these one-stroke rudiments are not just simple right or left strokes. Those are called simple strokes or single strokes. But when you combine a grace note in front of it, we'll talk about that, or after it, it becomes a compound stroke. But those can be loosened up or expanded into simple strokes. And so now you get into larger rudiments. So every rudiment can be broken down or contracted into or compressed into its compound stroke. Or you can expand it into larger rudiments. So anyway, how do we get better? How do we get better? That's the big question. The back of the shirt says practice, practice, practice. I say play, play, play. Make it play, make it fun, right? Don't make it work. So how do we get better? Rudiments mean building blocks, all right? So they're like the blocks that make up walls. And the house of music is created by these building blocks. And for drumming, it's these rudiments, right? And that's why we want to master the fundamentals. So I'm using the sheet that I created for my students quite a long time ago. And I'll try to put some of this information down in the description for you. And so we'll go over some of these terms, all right? So simple strokes, again, they're already expanded, right? You can't expand them any further. They're already expanded. And so we'll talk about building the house of drums from the floor up, the foundation, right? You have to put the walls on a floor, a foundation. So you have to spend some time building that foundation. And then you can start building the walls. And then finally, you can put a ceiling on it. So the first thing that we really have to nail down is the building block called the simple stroke, because we'll build off of that. We'll keep adding things to it to make it more complex. So you just have a right or a left. So that's it, right or a left. Those are your simple strokes, or we call them single strokes. And with every rudiment, you want to practice each side gradually, faster and faster, and eventually put it to some kind of notes, you know, and that's a whole nother game called the subdivisions of time. Whole notes go into half notes, go into, 2 halves equal a whole, or 3 halves to create a half note triplet. So, you want to look at the notation page. I'll put a link down below for the subdivisions of time. And then you're going to go into quarter notes. There's 2 quarter notes and a half note, or 4 quarter notes and a whole note. But you could also make it 3 quarter notes, and that's called a quarter note triplet. So you're going to give them different countings, so that way you can play to a metronome, so that when you play your rudiments, you have some sense of time or rhythm. So that way you'll use them in music, all right? So we have right or left. So you're going to practice one side over and over and over, and then you're going to practice the other side over and over and over, and then you're going to alternate back and forth. So I'm going to use traditional grip, match grip, so both hands look exactly the same. So you want to look at my website link for the rudiments page, and it'll tell you a lot of fundamental principles, a lot of fundamental skills you have to, hone in on before you can perfect your rudiments. But let's get started. So you want to be in the letter A, and you want to play single strokes all the way up, called a rebound stroke. See how it's going all the way up vertically. And I'm not talking about all the different techniques that you can use to develop this. There's a techniques page for that. I'll put a link below. So you want to be able to gradually speed up. And then also, like I said, you want to play it to a metronome. So you can use this. I don't want to use a lot of time up on this video. So let's just talk about going to the left side. Do the same thing. Change your technique as you go faster. Use more fingers. Get some rebounds. It's called accept the rebound. Okay, so you got that idea. Now, I like a lot of varieties of Spice of Life. It makes it more fun. Your time goes by faster, and you get more exercise, more practice. You more play, I should say. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to alternate. So now when you alternate, make sure you go all the way up. This is called a single stroke roll. Now, I have videos on my website, Rudiments page, for all these individually, so you can zone in on each one. Now, I would recommend learning how to use your fingers. Okay, so you're waving your fingers to practice each finger separately to make sure you don't have a weak finger. But this way you can play the different volumes. You know, playing at different volumes is not easy. So you want to use your dynamics. And here's your dynamics, right? Very, very soft. And as you move towards the center of the head, you get louder and louder and louder. So very, very soft, pianissimo, piano, mezzo forte, forte, and then fortissimo. So you want to be able to play single strokes at different speeds and at different volumes. So I'm just blowing through this, but you want to do this with all your rudiments, right? All your rudiments. So now we're going to build on these rudiments. That's the whole point of this lesson. We're going to start adding grace notes. So a grace note is this little tiny note, a little left hand, right before the right hand. See that? Or a little tiny right hand before the left hand. And they call it a grace note because it has no time value, no definite time value. It has time because it's being played in time. Now, what I mean by that is you might have, let's say we're just doing the right side. You may give the right side a definite time value, the principal stroke. It's called the principal stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your time, 4 quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it could have been 1 and 2 and, eighth notes, right? Could have given them those. Or you could have given them 1 D da, 2 D da, eighth note triplets. I mean, you can give your principal notes any value you want. But what about that little grace note, very small little soft note before it? Well, because it has no definite time value, you can give it anything you want. So we could put, if we were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, we could put a 16th note. We could make that a 16th note. 1 E and So it's a 1 E, a 2 E, a 3 E, a 4 E, a 1. So we actually gave it a note value of a 16th. But you could have made that an eighth note triplet. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1. So I'll show you that. So that's a little looser, farther apart. So as you give different time values of the grace note, it's going to get further and further away from the principal note. There's going to be more space, more openness. It all depends on the tempo, doesn't it? If the tempo is very, very fast, that little space is going to go by really quick. If the tempo is really slow, that little space is going to sound really big. So it's all about tempo. Or you could give it a 30-second note, you know, which we can't even count. 1 E and is something after 1 E and no, is the space between and the next number. So that's what we're talking about here. And we are just giving it a value that gives us the sound we want. A lot of drummers don't think about the actual value, but you could practice it with different values and actually fit it into time using a metronome. So, for instance, 1 E and 2 E and, that's 16th notes. So it's pretty far away. 1 E, depending on the tempo. 1 E, 4 E, 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E, 1 E, 2 E, 3 E, 4 E, 1. So you can go faster. 1 E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the tempo will make that shorter. So a lot of rudimental drummers want that to sound like there's some space there. Now, I think, you know, you just don't want to get your hands at the same height, because that's called a flat flam, and that's the way we play drum set beats. We don't want it to sound like that when we play a drum set beat. We want it to sound exactly the same. They call that unison, or playing together. Sometimes you see TOG or unison. Or it's simultaneous, it's like a chord, dun 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 dun, you know, of notes. So they call that unison. But in drumming, they call it a flat flam. You're flamming. This is called a flam. Flat. It's not supposed to sound like fa-lam, unless you're really expanding it, right? You're trying to expand it into 2 strokes. But that's the flexibility of compound strokes. You can contract them or compress them, or you can expand them out further. So one of the things you can do with flams is start out with a flam sound and then bring it, compress it, contract it into a flam. Flam, 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 flam. And so it starts, and then it gets closer and closer and closer. If you flatten it by lifting that grace note, you can feel the sticks almost cancel each other out, the energies. Yep, there it is. Cancels each other out. It's a weird feeling. It's a very weird feeling. So what we want to do generally is grace notes are not level with the drum. That's level. You can't really see from your perspective, but that's level. You want to have your grace notes down closer to the drum, about 1 to 2 inches. That's only 1 or 2 inches. You know, it's like that far. Not that far, maybe like that far. So you want to sag your wrist. I call it limp wrist. It's kind of a molar technique. This is molar, where you kind of just whip your, like a bull whip, Indiana Jones whip. So you're just doing this. Your arm, you know, just kind of wobbling. You know, there's a whole thing on the molar technique, but you're just limp wristing. So you're using your wrist like this. So it's not level. It's kind of relaxed, just like that. Now, I like to use my fingers when I do grace notes because I can get more delicacy, right? More delicacy. So this is what you want to do. So I'm just going, see, I'm using my fingers, pinky, and everything. So I get more, because if I use my wrist, I'm probably going to play too loud. So you don't want to use your wrist if you can help it. Now, when you use a traditional grip, it's just naturally slanted, isn't it? Look at that, how it's naturally slanted. See how it's naturally slanted? But when I slant the right hand or a match grip, I'm going to have to limp wrist. So make sure you come up on those rebound strokes. So one stroke is rebounding or full stroking, and the other stroke is just tapping. Now you can do this, pull your finger in, that's called trapping the stick. But then the problem is you'd have to go like this, so that's like 2 steps, right? And you can do that, but it's very mechanical and it's not taking advantage of the rebound. So this takes advantage of the natural rebound of the stick. Now I'm just helping it a little bit with my fingers. If you have some ideas, put them down in the comments and help other people. Spread the love, you know. That's what this website's about. The whole website, building a community where we help each other. Again, I have a lot of videos on just the flam, so you might want to look at those videos. So this is straight up. I know it's a strange perspective for you. So now when you alternate, you're going to have different stroke types because this is now an upstroke. When you tap it, you go upstroke to get ready for the next downstroke. So it's not a rebound anymore. It's down, stays down. So that's, you can use your trap technique or just wrist it. Now this is up, ready to go. So your stroke types, I have a video called the 9 stroke types. These are general ways to practice rudiments. There's actually 9, not just 4. There's 4 basics. So this is an upstroke, right? And this is a downstroke. And they're switching. I call this immediate switching technique. So that's the alternating, but again, you want to practice one side, the other side. See, this doesn't really raise. Practice the other side and alternate. As with all rudiments, that's what you want to do. So if we go down this, we are going to now, I wanted to show you that, again, with every rudiment, you can expand it. And then it becomes another rudiment. And I like to put a little dot separator so you can see that they're separate strokes. So I expanded that into a 2-stroke rudiment. And so now it's another rudiment. So that's the beauty of rudiments. One simple rudiment helps you for another rudiment, and those are called para, a pair of singles, like paradiddle, pair of singles. And again, you can practice them with different rhythms, very even or uneven, different volumes. Definitely want to have control of your sticks. And so that was the right side, and then the left side. And then alternate. Right, left, left, right. Right, left, left, right. Right, left, left, right, right. Now sometimes two sounds help you hear something that you didn't hear before. Right, left, left, right. Right, left, left, right. So sometimes just saying it will help you so much. All right? So we're 20 minutes in this video, and I'm going to go to the other parts. So you want to look at the end of this video and look at the other parts. And so we'll just go through each of these one-stroke rudiments. Okay? God bless you. Look forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye-bye.